Hi, it's Nell, and welcome to my patio on this warm and toasty day. It's June 1st. But boy, summer has arrived here in Tucson. It's like 100 degrees. Anyway, that's not what this is about. This video is about hanging out with my buddy Lisa, who will soon be your buddy, or maybe you already have a buddy Lisa. And what I'm talking about is Dracaena Lisa. She's a fine houseplant. So stick around and find out what her attributes are and how to care for her. When I was in the interior plantscaping field industry many moons ago, how many minis can I use? This plant was not around. There was Dracaena Janet Craig, and this is a close relative, I guess you would call it, of Janet Craig. Janet Craig the Dracaena Janet Craig has longer and bigger leaves. It also would get more of a rangier, spreadier form. This Dracaena Lisa has a tighter, more compact form. It's still a floor plant, but it has a more compact form, and the leaves are not as long. And so this is the one that is sort of taken over from the Janet Craig. There's also one called Michido. I have never cared for one of those. I don't have one, but like the Dracaena Janet Craig and the Dracaena Lisa, you care for them all in the same manner. Oh, and this plant has beautiful green stems also, whereas something like the Dracaena Masangiana, the corn plant, has more of the brown stems. So this one is dark green with dark green stems, and the Janet Craig was the ultimate low light office plant. When I left that field, I was like, if I put one more Dracaena Janet Craig or one more Dracaena Masangiana in an office, I'm going to scream. But you know, times have come around, and I've had this Lisa for probably like a year now. She's doing fine, even here in the desert. And this is most commonly sold as a floor plant, anywhere from 5 to 7 feet tall. Now, some of the Dracaena Janet Craigs that we got in to put into lobbies and things, they were like 12, 15 feet tall. No, I think the tallest we got was like 12, not, 15. That's pretty tall. That's more like a Ficus benjamina. But I'm not quite sure what the maximum height on this is, but this one that I have is about 6 feet tall. And it forms a natural, what's called a cane form or a trunk form. So it will eventually lose the lowest leaves on each stem, and that's just how it grows. So don't be concerned about that. I have also seen this plant sold small too for dish gardens, but I'm not sure if it's the Janet Craig or if it is the Lisa, so I'm not even going to get into that. I'm going to talk about it mainly as a floor plant because it is a lovely floor plant. I'm going to try to zip through all these points really fast. There will be more information in the blog post because I write a nice long blog post. So if you are really truly interested in this plant, head on over to joyousgarden.com, or I will also leave the link to the post down below for you. The growth rate on this is what I would consider to be moderate. It's not a really fast grower, but it is not a slow grower either, which leads us right into exposure. This plant does get billed as a low light plant. It does better in medium light, much better in nice, bright, natural light, but no direct light. And that will make it grow faster than if it's in low light, because what's going to happen in low light conditions, it's not going to grow as much. The leaves might look a little blah, might get a little bit smaller, droop a little bit. So for it to look its best, put it in nice, bright, natural light. Okay, so we'll focus in a little more so you can see just how dark and beautiful this plant is. Yes, that is a sheet hanging behind it. It is my temporary sun protection. I have some bamboo curtains ordered, so that is just what I've rigged up for now, because, you know, it's all about the fleshy succulents. I don't want them to burn. So in terms of water, this plant likes to be really dry. I do water mine every week or week and a half here, but I'm in Tucson and my house is warm. I hardly use the air conditioning at all, except in the evening. Now, once it gets to be like 105, I will, but so my house is warm, so it does dry out. And it's also still planted in lava rock. The California and Hawaii growers plant these plants in a combination of soil and lava rock so that it just kind of flows through. But in a regular apartment type of a situation, once every 2 to 4 weeks would be fine. So you really do want this one to go dry in between waterings, because large brown spots will eventually show brown, and possibly yellow 2 spots will show up on those big dark glossy leaves, which is a signal of too much water. And in terms of temperature, as I say, if it's comfortable for you, it will be comfortable for your plant. As I said, my place is warm. I get fair amount of sun, so it is warmer, so I do water more. But if you have a cooler temperature, which is fine for this plant too, you're just not going to water as often. So I was just combining temperature and water there. So in terms of fertilizing, easy does it, if at all. This plant is really sensitive to salts. It'll burn, again, on the leaf edges. So if you fertilize it too much, that's going to show up. You might want to fertilize it once or maybe twice a year and use a balanced liquid houseplant fertilizer, something like 333 or 555, and do it at half strength. And you would want to fertilize, if you do, in spring and summer. But again, easy does it. Speaking of spots on plants, some Dracaenas are very susceptible to tipping, or prone to tipping, where the tips of the leaves get brown. My marginata, my Dracaena marginata, has almost all the tips are brown. It's just the dry air here. This one isn't too bad. It's got a few on it. This one is a little bit more pronounced there, but not too bad. But this one, this Dracaena, which I will be doing a video about at some point, which I love because I love this color. It's Dracaena Song of India. It has nary a brown tip on it at all, and I've had this one longer than this one, even here in the desert. Oh, and that tipping is just usually due to the dry air, or, you know, it's something that the plant is prone to, as I said, but it is more pronounced when the air is dry. So here's another spot issue. When you get these white spots on the leaves, this one came that way from the grower, and I've been meaning to do a video on it. It's just how it comes, and I'm going to do a video on how to remove it from the plants. So in terms of pests, what I've seen it with is mealybugs and scale. I've done videos and posts on both those, how to identify them and how to treat them, and I will leave the links down below. And I can't remember if I ever saw this with spider mites. Palms are notorious for spider mites when growing indoors, but I don't think I've seen this one with spider mites. Just the mealybugs and the scale. So in terms of pruning, there's really no need to prune this plant unless you want to control the height. And as I said, I'm not sure ultimately how tall this one gets, so I don't know if you're going to need to do that or not. If you want to remove some of the pronounced brown edges on the leaves, you can. It's a look I'm not particularly fond of, but you can do that. Or if you wanted to propagate it. So you can propagate this plant by either air layering or by stem cuttings in water. So I don't actually grow this plant outdoors. I grow this plant indoors. It is in my living room, not too far from the front door. So it's enjoying a bit of the outside world so it can communicate with its other plant friends. I think that this plant is just happy to be out here because it's like, you're talking to me all the time. Now I can talk to the ponytail palm over there. The beautiful glossy green leaves on this plant do collect dust and stuff in our home. So it's good to clean it off once or twice a year. It's good for the leaves. They need to be able to breathe, so it's a good thing to do. You can just take a nice, soft cloth, dampen it, and just wipe the leaves off. Or if you're so inclined, you could take it in the shower with you and clean it off that way. Just be careful not to blast out all the soil, though. Speaking of soil, I almost forgot that. I am going to be transplanting my plant, this plant, in probably I'll do it in early fall, end of summer, or I might wait till next spring. I'll see. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in a mixture of probably potting soil, definitely organic potting soil. I have a good local one. I'll use some of the lava rock, and I have some charcoal left over from a project. I'll do that. And that's probably what I'll use, but so it gets that nice, like, chunkiness to it. So it just drains right out because remember, you don't want this plant to stay wet. It'll show up as big blotches on the leaves. So make sure the soil is light and drains on through. Now I know that many of you live with pets in your house like I do. I have 2 kitty cats. One just happens to be back there. So I'm going to touch on the fact that this is considered to be toxic to pets like the other Dracaenas are. There are more houseplants that are toxic to pets than non-toxic. My cats don't bother plants, so I'm okay. I can have lots of plants, and I do. So if your pets like to chew on plants, just be warned. And I have done a post and a video on toxicity and houseplants and my thoughts on it and plants that are safe for pets. So I will leave that link down below and also in the blog post. So if you want a beautiful floor plant that does get taller, but it doesn't get very wide, this is the plant for you. For instance, my rubber tree is starting to grow. It was like growing upright, and now it's starting to grow taller and it's starting to grow out. So this one is nice because it's not going to get too much wider than this here. So it's good for those spots where you don't have a lot of room. It really is an easy care plant. Just mind the watering. I'm going to show you the form. Oh, there's that sun. We just can't get away from the sun here in Arizona. And don't forget to check the blog post because there will be more information in that. And I hope you have found this video to be helpful. I have a lot more videos coming your way, so stay tuned for those. I thank you for all your likes and your subscribes. I really appreciate them. I do. Now let's get out in the garden, or into our indoor gardens and make our worlds a more beautiful place. As always, I thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.